and for coming back and teaching us another wonderful class. She is a co-op favorite. Yay!
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for coming out in the heat. It was so perfect. You know, we had this weird weather for a while where the fog was coming in and it was only like 70, 80 degrees, at least up in Willits. And I went, okay, well, it would be really nice if it was 100 the day that I did the main course salads when it's too hot to cook, because I did cook some things. And so I've done some experiments, and I want to share with you the things that, you know, the little shortcuts that I discovered, like microwaving your water. If you need to boil something, microwave the water first and then pour it over whatever you're going to boil so that it cooks faster and you don't have the flame on the stove for that extra 10 minutes it normally takes water to boil. So I got to do that today, and it was really cool because I did it really early this morning when my house was cool, and I have a little thermometer, and I paid attention. I didn't really raise the temperature in my house at all to boil pasta. What we're going to do is, these are the things that we're going to sample tonight. Making your own salad dressing is so incredibly easy. I don't know that I will ever buy another bottle of salad dressing. I mean, why? It's so easy to make salad dressing. So we're going to make a Miso balsamic. We're going to make a very simple, I use this one a lot, it's just you crush a clove of garlic, you stick a fork in it, and you whip it into some olive oil, and then finish it with some lemon juice or some vinegar, whatever you prefer, and you're done. That's it. You just need to let the garlic sit in the oil for just 5 minutes, and then you get this really beautiful, flavorful oil. I use a little salt. I also make a sprinkle that I use flax and hemp seeds, and then raw cashews is pretty much the base. You have a recipe for it, but I'm going to make it a little bit differently today just because of the ingredients that I had on hand. I got inspired this morning with pepitas, and so I roasted pepitas, and we're going to put that in there this time, and it'll be an experiment because I haven't made it yet, so we'll all be tasting it together. So the first thing we'll do is I'll make these dressings, and you can follow me with the recipe, and I'm going to make the sprinkle, and then we're going to pass out some plates of greens so you can just sample just the dressing by itself, so you could just see what it's like on greens. Then we're going to make an eggless egg salad out of tofu, of course. Then was anybody here for the vegan Thanksgiving? Okay, so you remember the massage the kale and how to do that, and so we're going to do that again today for a totally different salad. And then the co-op has started carrying the most wonderful grain in the world, in my not very humble opinion. Has anybody had farro or emmer? It goes by both names. Is that a no? How many people have not had farro or emmer? Okay, that's most of you. Well, you're in for a treat. It is one of the most ancient grains that there is. It's related to wheat and spelt, but it's nutty and creamy. And I don't know if you ever had wheat berries before. When you cook them, they're kind of squeaky, you know? This is not squeaky. It's just nutty and creamy and delicious. So we're going to have a farro salad. And then you don't have the recipe for a pasta salad, but you do have the recipe for the Green Goddess pesto dressing, and I'm going to serve it on a pasta salad, which is just simply pasta that was cooked early this morning with some broccoli and then just tossed with some olive oil so it didn't get sticky, and so you'll get a chance to try that. And then for our dessert, we're going to have a dessert salad, which is going to be watermelon and blueberries and coconut and walnuts, and it's going to be dressed with a soy yogurt. So I think you'll be well fed by the time you leave. One of the things that I pay attention to as a vegan is making sure that I'm not eating too many carbs and that I'm eating enough protein. And there's protein in everything. It's true. And if I printed the nutritional information for most of these recipes so you can see that you pretty much get a nice wide range of nutrition, you know, the basic macronutrition, fat, carbs, protein. And that I find that using seeds and nuts in salads is just an amazing way to add protein. I decided just on the fly 3 days ago that I was going to sprout some chickpeas, some mung beans, and some lentils. And so I did, and we're going to have these on our salad. So what better way to have beans when it's really hot is to have them sprouted. They are so delicious, they're crunchy, And so there'll be enough for everybody to have a little sample. The first thing we're going to make is the miso balsamic dressing. And this is a recipe that's pretty much gone around the world. I have people in my life from every area of my life that say, no, that's my recipe. No, it's my recipe. So I think it's a pretty well-known one. I love balsamic vinegar. I never was a vinegar person until I discovered balsamic vinegar. So miso. This is my favorite miso. It's the Miso Master. It's the sweet white miso. It's the mildest of all the misos, and it's actually sweet. There's a couple of brands that make white miso, but this one is absolutely my favorite. I've never had a miso that is as versatile with this as this one, and it gives really beautiful undertones to whatever it is you're making, but it doesn't overpower it. It's just delicious. Oh, and about the Emmer, when we get to it, the farro, it's called both things. The co-op is carrying it in bulk, so if you want to try it, you can just get a little bit and give it a whirl and see how you do with it. Now, when I was thinking about what I wanted to make in terms of grains and things like that, the reason I chose farro is because you can soak it. You can soak it overnight, and just the soaking of it practically makes it cooked without cooking it. And so basically farro is one of these wonderful things that you just have to put it on the stove for about 10 minutes after it's soaked and it's completely cooked. So unlike rice, 30 minutes, or barley, or any of the grains that will heat your kitchen up pretty extremely. So would you ladies care to start just giving out plates? Because this will be done in really quick. Yeah, that would be great. So if everybody will just have a plate and a fork. You have forks for people, right? Yeah. Okay. So basically with this dressing, what I do is I mix up the miso in with the balsamic vinegar first, because the miso takes a little bit of work to get it to dissolve and not be lumpy. So I'll usually do that first and then add the rest of my ingredients. So I usually thin this with water. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we put in the balsamic vinegar and the miso, and now we're going to put in a little bit of olive oil. You don't, if you're watching your fat grams, you don't have to put olive oil in this. This dressing will be just fine without it. It's a little richer and creamier, obviously, if you put the olive oil in it. And then I'm going to use just a little bit. This is agave. I just needed a little, so we're just going to put in a squirt of agave. And then for as much agave as I put in there, I usually put in about an equivalent amount of mustard. And this is stone ground mustard. I use stone ground or Dijon, just a nice flavorful darker mustard. And then just a little bit of tamari, not much, usually doesn't need it, more than just a little bit. I think I got it all. So could I get maybe somebody in the front to just kind of pass a couple of these back? Oh, great. Yeah, I wanted everybody to have a dressing. And then we can pass around a trash. Yeah, the logistics of this was really interesting. Like, how are we going to make this all work? Because we're giving out these little samples of so many things. And thank you for helping. You get extra watermelon at the end. Okay, now don't eat all your salad yet because we haven't made the sprinkle. Thank you. So I'm always flying blind when I can't stick my finger in something and taste it. Is it too strong? Did it come out okay? Okay. All right. So now I just want to show you this because I just layered it. Can you see it? It's what we've got in there is we've got hemp at the bottom, then golden flax, then roasted pepitas, then roasted sesame seeds with some salt and some raw cashews. So we're gonna blend all of this up. What? Pepitas are pumpkin seeds. Yeah. So normally when I make this blend, I usually just make enough for a couple of days because once you grind up the nuts and the seeds, the oil is expressed and they start to nutritionally degrade. So this is as fresh as it gets. Yeah, and I'm going to want you guys to do this part too. Okay, so what I did, because I have such a big batch, is I pre-ground it in a little mini processor, but it doesn't really make things really fine. So this is just, a coffee grinder. And you know that if you have a coffee grinder that you want to use for herbs and seeds and nuts, that you can't ever use it for coffee because then everything will just taste like coffee. And the reverse is true as well. I ground fennel in my grinder once, and it took about a year for everything else to stop tasting like fennel. Okay, so we can start dishing those up. I'm going to make one more batch, and that should probably be enough for everybody. Okay, so make sure you save some of your greens until you get your sprinkle. So who's a fan of tofu and who's not a fan of tofu? Yes tofu? No tofu? I know about you, Andy, but you're working. My favorite tofu for really everything except for sauces, when I need something to be really smooth, is this. This is the Wildwood, high protein, super firm. It's super firm. I've never really had any other firm tofu, but this one, and I would read about people talking about pressing their tofu with, like putting something heavy on it to express the water, and you don't have to do that with this stuff. This stuff is so dense. And nutritionally, it's 14 grams of protein. There's no other tofu that I've ever found that has that much protein in it. This is the Wildwood, and this particular one is not sprouted, but they do make the sprouted ones. The sprouted ones, they are allegedly easier to digest, but I have not really noticed any difference. Just something that's not going to take up a lot of space.
Yeah. Want me to put a couple out?
Just one. I just need one.
Okay.
So here's the thing about tofu. This is why I love this salad. I like it better than the chickpea salad, because the chickpea salad I actually use tools. I use a masher, and then I use a fork. And this one, it's my mud pie repression from childhood. Is I just squish it up with my hands and let that just be it. And I like to play with my food. I was a kid that got in trouble because I like to play with my food. So now as an adult, I can't get in trouble unless I'm not wearing my gloves, of course, at the co-op. So this is really, really dense tofu. So it's like if you were to take, say, the Wildwood silken tofu and you wanted to squish it up, you would just give it one squish and it would be totally pulverized. But this stuff, you got to work it a little bit. And my friend Beth in Chicago, who's a tattooed biker chick vegan. Um, she's I love her to pieces. She started experimenting when she went vegan with making eggless egg salad. And you know, any of us who like to have something on a sandwich that isn't like a processed sandwich slicey kind of thing end up usually doing something like this. And so there's a lot of companies that make eggless egg salad that you can buy, and it's ridiculously expensive. You get this little container that's what, 4 half-cup servings or 2 half-cup servings for like $4 or $5. And this is so inexpensive to make if you make it yourself. So anyway, my friend Beth, she made it for the first time, and she said it was so good I cackled with glee. And every time I make this, I think of my friend Beth cackling. So what we're going to do is your plates, that's going to be your plate until we get to the dessert. So we're going to do another plating of salad greens. And then if you need them, if you've I'm sure you've eaten them all already, but if you haven't, you don't want more, just let our lovely helper assistants know. And then this will be served in a little cup, and then you can put it on top of the greens, or you could just eat it out of the cup. Yeah, this is really a workout. My fingers are, you know, they're going to be very muscular at the end of this. So I like to make this with, I've become a fan of dill when I started growing my own. I never really understood what the big deal was with, the big dill, was with dill until I grew my own and had it fresh, and it was like a whole nother thing from the dried stuff that you buy. Even the stuff that you get in bulk is just no comparison to fresh dill. So I've got some fresh dill. I'm going to put fresh dill in this and some pickle relish, a little bit of red onion. First, we're going to make it look like egg salad. And how do we do that? With turmeric and nutritional yeast. Now, nutritional yeast is one of my favorite things. As a vegan, there's not that many vegan sources of B12 unless you're eating fortified food, and 1.5 tablespoons of nutritional yeast will give you 100% of your RDA of B12. Now, my understanding, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist, but my understanding is that your body stores B12. You don't need to eat it every day. I don't think that we need to eat any particular nutrient to a certain percentage of the whole every day. I think over the course of a week or several days, you basically get all the nutrition you need. So this is nutritional yeast. It's sold in bulk here at the co-op, and it's a nice yellow color, and it's sort of a smoky, nutty flavor, and I just think it's fantastic stuff. I make tofu scrambles with it for breakfast pretty regularly. I make gravy with it. It's just a fabulous thing. Now, what's really going to give it the nice yellow color is a little bit of turmeric. And you don't want to put too much turmeric in, because turmeric has a pretty strong taste, and we're not making, you know, curry. We're not making curried egg salad here. We just want to give it a little bit of yellow color. So I'm just going to stir in my yellowing agents here. And then I've already chopped up some celery, so you don't have to sit there watching me chop everything in advance. But I did want to show you the onion trick. Okay, my friend Steen is a professional chef up in Washington State, and she taught me I will love her forever for this trick. Yes. Yes. Okay, so I've cut the onion roughly in half, and I'm going to cut off the two ends, and I'm going to take the skin off, the skin in one layer. So I want to get that the slippery part off, because that's how you cut yourself, sliding on that. And then, so my whole life, and I worked in restaurants for years, my whole life I chopped an onion by going like this, slicing it across like this, and then cross-cutting it. And I always had these two ends that I had to like chop them up. Okay, so this is what Steen taught me. You're going to follow the shape of the onion. Okay, so you're going to go in like that. You're going to follow, and so you've got a very sharp angle, And then you start to kind of take it, you follow the ribs of the onion itself. And as you can see, I'm not going all the way through because I need something to hold on to. I don't want it to just fall apart. Okay, so now I'm getting to the other side, so I'll turn it around and do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And voila, I don't have to cut any more. It's done. That's all you have to do. And that's about all I want for the, okay, I lied. There's one little piece that, but I don't want to put a lot of onion in it because then you won't be able to taste anything else. So I'll just do a little bit. And here's our big dill, which we really just we don't need very much of it, maybe a couple of 2-3 tablespoons. I'd say that's probably good enough. And then I love pickles. You like pickles? You good with pickles? All right. So normally I would just buy pickles and chop them up, but for expediency's sake, I decided to just get a jar of boobies. Boobies. And then the piece de resistance is, now, I swear I don't work for the Wildwood company. I just really love I love their food. I just think they're a good karma company. They, all their soy is American sourced, organic, and this stuff is amazing. Has anybody had this before, the garlic aioli? It's my vegan mayonnaise. It's garlic, it's garlicky, and it's thick, and it's just the most delicious stuff. So that's why I'm not going to put any garlic in this or put any other kind of dressing on it, because we're just going to go with the garlic that's in here. I like the veganaise too, but I like this better, a lot better. Yeah, it is. I think it's creamier. So just like any other kind of mayonnaise-y salad, you have your own preference of how wet you want it to be. So because, you know, this is very, very dense tofu and it's kind of dry already, I'm going to use a lot of mayonnaise. So we're definitely not scrimping on fat grams with this one. Okay, I'm ready for you girls to help me get this out there.
So we're just going to put it right on top of the salad?
Is everybody good with this just right on top of your salad, so we could just walk around and give you a spoonful? That would be great. Yeah, I guess you could kind of alternate. All right, so while they're serving that, I'm going to show you, this is going to be for a salad that we're going to have a little bit later. Okay. So I just want you to know that this is my own garlic. I just harvested it last week. And I'm so proud. So I made a new bed last year and I didn't get a good showings, but this year I got a really good garlic showing. So we're just going to take a couple of cloves of garlic. And so you know the garlic has the end that the sprout comes out of and then the end that the root comes out of if you want to plant it. So all we're going to take off is the end that the root would come out of, which is the flat end, okay? I'm not going to assume that everybody knows how to do everything with food. I'm going to assume that people don't know, and so if you know, just don't feel like I'm being patronizing, because I'm not, because I don't want anybody who doesn't know to feel like they're stupid because they don't know. Okay, so what I've done is I've just cut the very tip off. So here's my cloves of garlic. And now I'm going to take the flat side of my knife and I'm going to put some pressure on it, and ooh, that was feedback. I'm going to crush it. Now I'm not going to crush it so it breaks into pieces. but I'm going to crush it enough so that I'm releasing all the garlicky goodness, the oil, the volatile oils. Okay, easiest salad dressing in the world. You stick the tines of your fork into your clove of garlic and you put it in a bowl. Then you take your olive oil. And this is just Spectrum. I think this is the Mediterranean. I just used this bottle. I poured from a bigger bottle. This is the organic Mediterranean style, which I use for, you know, I have specialty oils. I think that just for the purposes of the demo, I wasn't going to, you know, buy a $30 bottle of olive oil or make the co-op buy a $30 bottle of olive oil. But I think that for dressings and for dipping, that the better you get what you put into it and the better quality of olive oil. So, you know, the boutique olive oils, they can be very sharp and they can catch you in the back of the throat. They can taste very green. They can be sweet. They can be bitter. They can be so many things. So it's good to have one that you know that you like, because you could just put together a whole batch of something and have it not be pleasing because the olive oil is too sharp.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, lemons and limes have seeds, and I like using fresh versus bottled. So I have my little tea strainer, and I basically am just going to do the first squeezing right over the strainer. And then the strainer has a little lip, so usually I use some kind of bowl that is small enough for it to fit across. And then I just push my fingers inside of it to get every last drop of juice out of it. Who makes dressings with lemon versus vinegar? Yeah. I prefer lemon. Do you know lemon is actually alkalizing versus acidifying, and vinegar is acidifying. So I like to be more alkalized than acidified, if I can help it. And then I just beat it up, and let's see, I have a little salt. I'm going to put a little salt in there. And then we're just going to let this sit, and this is what we're going to dress the farro salad with when we get to that. Or actually, I think we're going to dress the orzo salad with that. So, how are you doing there with everything? Did the egg salad come out okay? Good. Okay. I just go by what it looks like because I can't stick my fingers in anything. Okay. Next is going to be the farro salad. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about nutritional value of nuts and seeds and of the farro itself. So let me start with that. I took this from the website of the company that grows, it's a family farm in Washington State that grows this farro that you're going to eat, that they sell here at the co-op in bulk. They also sell it as flour. I think they have a pancake mix that's made with farro flour, and then they have flour over in the not bulk section. So this is what I took from their webpage. Farro, this old world heirloom, dates back to early civilization. The term Emmer refers to the type or species of grain. Emmer is the original farro, old world grain, a simple grain of 28 chromosomes that predates spelt. It is, and you know, we know spelt is older than wheat. That first there was spelt, then there was wheat. They kind of bred wheat from spelt. It is prepared like brown rice, and they say it cooks in 50 to 60 minutes, but I told you what the trick is. Soak it first, and then you'll cook it in 10 minutes. It makes fabulous pilaf, grain salad, risotto, added to soups, or sprouted for breads and salads. So you can sprout it too. I have not tried that yet. When cooked, it's dark plump berries, adds sweet, full-bodied flavor, chewy texture, and high nutritional value, over 16% protein to every meal. It is a lovely, versatile grain that is a staple in our household. When mixed with lentils or chickpeas, it makes a really good protein meal source. So a quarter cup dry, the nutritional value will give you 6 grams of protein, which is pretty good. That's pretty good. A quarter cup would be about a half cup cooked. It's about a 2-to-1 ratio. So normally what I do when I soak it first is that I make sure I cover it I cover it, I put it in a pot and I cover it with water so that it's at least an inch over. Then what I said in the recipe, you can just cook it in that water if you've only soaked it for a couple of hours, but I did mine overnight, so I drained it and then I just eyeballed it and I just barely covered the top with water, just barely, because in 10 minutes it's gonna soak up all that water, and if it needed more water, it's not like rice that it's gonna get gummy if you have to add more water or if you stir it while it's cooking. It's very, very easy, user-friendly grain to work with. So it's 170 calories for a serving, 5 grams of fiber, which I think is great, 20% of your RDA of niacin, 15% magnesium and zinc, and 10% iron. So that's packs quite a punch. And then I wanted to just to give you an idea, you know, nuts are a good protein source, but they're also a very good fat source. So again, if you're watching your fat grams, and some people find nuts to be constipating, you don't want to eat too much nuts. But like, here's walnuts. A quarter cup of walnuts is 200 calories and 20 grams of fat, which is a lot, but it's also 4.6 grams of protein and 132 milligrams of potassium. So, you know, where do we get our potassium? You get it from bananas, you get it from potatoes, and you get some of it from different kinds of nuts. So walnuts, 51% of your RDA of manganese. Now, I don't know what manganese does for us, but it's always there on nutritional value reports. So the other thing that we have here, just to give you an example, so that was a nut, is a seed, and that's the pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. They're shelled pumpkin seeds. 30 grams, which is about a quarter of a cup, is 180 calories and only 14 grams of fat, so a little bit lower on the fat, and it's 9 grams of protein for a quarter cup. So that's a real nice protein source, and you get 15% of your RDA of iron from eating pepitas. So without further ado, let's move on to our farro salad. So what we're going to do here is, for those of you who weren't here, does everybody, has anybody not had raw kale salad, massaged kale salad? Not. Okay. All right. This is one of this is the 8th wonder of the world, I promise you. All right. So I've already prepped this kale. So who has done massaged kale? Who's done that? Good. What do you massage it with?
My hands.
No, what do you massage? What are you putting into it?
What?
What are you massaging it with?
Avocado.
Okay. Have you done it with olive oil? Okay. I can't believe that I never ate kale in my life until I was almost 50. So check this out. Here, this is the dino kale. It has another name too, but I don't know what it is. So you don't want this big, thick, woody part of the stem. It's not very pleasant. So what I do is I make just a little tear on either side of the stem. I hold the stem firmly in my hand and get it's hard to do it in gloves. And then I just do this. That's it. Stem, kale, easy. Does anybody want to try? I had a kid here who did it last time. Come on, who's got a kid inside? Come on, somebody come up and try. Come on. You. Come on. Come on. They don't even know who I was pointing to. They all just went, okay. Jay. Oh, you can't get out. You can't get out. You're trapped. Okay, you have an excuse. Okay. All right, kale. Now, you know, you can, this little piece of stem, it just depends how particular you are. You can take it out or not. It really doesn't matter. So here we go. This has all been destemmed and chopped up already. So now we are going to, oh no, I didn't chop it up. I just destemmed it. Okay. That would be a little bit uncomfortable. On those little plates with little plastic forks, eat that much kale. Okay. All right. And just so you know, if you see me dropping stuff on the floor, I have a trash and a compost back there, just saying. All right, so basically what I've done is everything is, when I'm going to cross-cut it, it'll be bite-sized pieces. That's what you want. So what I do when I'm doing large quantities like this is I lay it out so I make sure I don't have any, like, see, that would be kind of a big piece, so I'll cut this way a couple of times just to make sure. But I pretty much took care of this when I prepped it this morning, so this should just go pretty nicely and quickly without having a whole lot of big pieces. It's called Dino Kale. Now you can use any kind of kale for raw kale salad. This just happens to be my favorite. I grow it in my garden. I grow this and I grow the curly Russian kale, the purple kale. And they're the hardiest plants. They grow through, I live in Willits, so we get some snow up there, and it grows in the snow. It's kind of like the chard, you know. It's not quite as ubiquitous as the chard, which just reseeds itself all over the garden and pops up wherever it wants to, and it's a beautiful thing. I think of my chard as my totem vegetable. But the kale runs a close second, and that it grows all year round. That I had a batch of it that just started bolting and going to seed, and so I planted some more. And so I'm never without kale, whereas the chard it all goes to flower at the same time. I let some of it go so it reseeds itself, and then, you know, the hot time of year is usually not a chard time of year, but I do have kale. I'm growing my Russian kale in the shade. I built a little filtered sunlight shady structure for it, and it's doing fantastically. The kale that I have in the sun is only half the size of what's in the filtered light, so it definitely likes the shade and the heat. But then when it's not the heat of the summer, you could grow it in the full sun. That's right. So I'm a big fan of massaging kale with avocado, and because we're having this all mixed up with the farro, I'm actually going to just do it with the olive oil. So we're going to just use just some straight olive oil. So we're just going to pour some olive oil in here. And you see how big this bowl is? You're going to be amazed at how much it's going to shrink. And then what tenderizes the kale is actually the salt. Now this is sea salt because that's what they had in bulk here. Normally I like to use the pink Himalayan salt. I just love it. It's so pretty, and I don't know. Can you tell the difference between flavors of kinds of salt? I can't either. Maybe when I was younger and I had more of a sensitive palate, but. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get in here again. This is mud pie therapy for us kids who didn't get to do the mud pies too much. Is you're just going to get in here and you're just going to really work the salt and the oil into the kale. So how was the eggless egg salad? Was that good? Yeah? Good. Thank you. I'm such a taster when I cook at home. You know, I'm always tasting things because, oh, a little more of this, a little more of that. But, you know, we got health department issues here, so I can't do that. All right. So remember that full bowl of kale, just like a minute ago? Remember that full bowl of kale? Okay, half. Yeah. All right. All right, so we're going to let that sit and marinate for a minute, and now we're going to dress the farro. So let me just hand that to you for right now. Okay, you know what? For expediency's sake, because I think it's getting late, we're going to just use this oil that we put the garlic in. We were going to do a lemony olive oil with onion, but I'm just going to do it with the garlic instead. Okay, so voila! This is our farro, our Emmer. I soaked it, and I cooked it for 10 minutes. It was about 10 minutes. I didn't like pay attention to the clock. It just felt like 10 minutes until the water was soaked in, and then I tasted it, and it was the right texture. It wasn't too chewy, and it wasn't, you know, obviously if it goes beyond, if you put too much water in it. The thing is, again, it's a very forgiving grain because you can end up putting too much water in it, and then once it cools, it'll just soak it all up, and you'll be fine. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to do a little bit of onion. Again, I don't want to overwhelm everybody with onions, so I put onions in just about everything, but not chocolate. I've never put onions in chocolate. It's actually sold here as farro, and I don't know why it has two names. They explained it sort of in that little thing, but it didn't make any sense to me. So, okay, so we're going to just try not to get any garlic in here. And then it was sort of a last minute thing. I didn't put this in the recipe, but I decided that I wanted to put some fruit in here. And I was thinking about using, you know, like dried cranberries or raisins, and then I thought, no, like here's these beautiful, it's the most fruitalicious time of year, and here's these beautiful apricots, so why not chop up some apricots and put those in instead. So hopefully that, again, this is all you're all being experimented on. You're all part of my grand experiment. And you know, I know that a lot of people don't cook like this. They have a plan, they have a recipe, they execute the recipe. If they don't have all the ingredients of the recipe, they'll go out and get the missing ingredient. But I don't know. For me, it's like an art. It's my art, and so I just wing it. Winging it is just sort of how I do it. And so it just occurred to me that apricots might be a really nice thing. So if it's not a really nice thing, please let me know. So I'm just gonna chop them up, not terribly small, but not terribly big either, because I don't want the flavor of the apricot to overpower anything. But then a nice little burst of it here and there will be nice. Does anybody live here in Ukiah and grow apricots? Can you grow them here? So that was one of my heartbreaks of moving to Willits, was discovering that we really don't have the growing season for apricots. Nobody grows them?
I do.
Oh, you do? Yeah, what kind?
I have no idea.
Delicious ones?
They're good.
All right. Did you get any this year?
No, that big winter fake out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
summer number 1, the one we had in February. I think I'll put the rest of the apricots in too. Okay, so I'm going to just stir it all together. Now, if I was doing this like for a dinner party or something, maybe I would put a bed of kale and then pile it on top, but just because of what we're doing here, it makes more sense to just sort of toss it like this and serve it all as a piece. And I might have done this with a little bit less olive oil at home. So you let me know, okay? I want you to be honest. Even though we're going to be on television, I want you to be honest. Are these the most beautiful things? Is this like, this is my favorite time of year, just for this. Just for this. Okay. Yes, and the fruit. Well, tomatoes are fruit.
Right, you're right.
But it's just like I wait all year. You know, when you grow your own tomatoes, it's like you can't eat tomatoes when tomato season's over. It's just so not worth it. Okay, here you go. Have at it. Oh, one more thing. Wait. Pepitas.
So beautiful. Do they still have their forks? Wow.
Did you keep your forks? Okay. Okay, I'll tell you right now, it's a little bit too salty. I'm sorry. But I hope you get the idea. Yeah, a little bit too salty. Is it okay? All right. Yes. Yes, I just about toasting nuts and seeds. Here's the thing about it's hot and you don't want to put the stove on because that heats the kitchen up. Is I use my toaster oven a lot in the summer, and it has less temperature impact than other things. And so what I did is I just put the toaster oven on about 275, and I just spread a layer. I try not to get too much in terms of layers, try to make a single layer if I can. And then I just sprinkle a little bit of salt on there, but I roast them dry. The same thing with the Omega sprinkle. The sesame seeds are also roasted with a little bit of salt, because that's what gomasio is roasting unhulled sesame seeds with salt. And I do a ratio of 9 parts sesame to 1 part salt. So when I make my own gomasio, I'll do 9 tablespoons of sesame and 1 tablespoon of salt. And if I'm in a hurry, I do it in the frying pan. When it's hot and I just can remember to set a timer and not burn them, then I'll do them in the toaster oven. Because I believe that when you roast nuts and seeds, if you do it under 170 degrees, you don't break down the nutritional value and the oils in them, but they'll still have that roasted flavor. Because even in a 170 degree oven, if you put something in for too long, it will burn. So it takes longer. It takes closer to 20-30 minutes if you do 170 degrees. If you have an oven that you can actually set at 170 degrees. Oh, so I wanted to show you, you want to top your salad. You don't have you're in a hurry. You don't have time to roast nuts. You don't have nuts to roast, whatever. I love these things. These wild rice. These are just these wild rice. They're like little crackers. They sell them in bulk here. They're more junk food than food, but they're salty and crunchy and yummy. So I just wanted to show you this trick, because this is what I did with the walnuts for our dessert, but it's already done. I take them, I have them in a paper bag. I kind of flatten them out so I don't have too much in the way of layers. And then I get my trusty rolling pin that I think I've had this for 25 years. I got it at the flea market in Sebastopol for $1 or something. And I just do like this. I might roll a little bit, depending what it is, but this is so easy, and you don't make a mess. Things don't go shooting all over the place. You don't want to be so rough on it that you injure your plastic bag and make holes in it, but you see how it's just, you hear it? It's just crunching up. And so what I've done is I've made a crispy topping for salads. But I just kind of turn the bag over and see how I did, and okay, I want to crush it up just a little bit more. But it's kind of like duct tape. Who's ever taped a duct? I've never taped a duct. I wouldn't know what a duct was or how to tape it, but I've used duct tape for a million things. I use this rolling pin for everything. I mean, it's one of my favorite kitchen tools, and to have something for $1 for 25 years that I use as much as I use this rolling pin is okay. Pasta salad, it requires cooking on the stove, right? But orzo cooks in 7 minutes, al dente, yeah? So what I made here is this is a Kalamata olive, kale, garlic, orzo salad. So I cooked it already. So what I did is, now you have the recipe, is I had, I chopped up some garlic, I minced it up pretty fine. I put some olive oil right in this pot that I cooked the whole thing in. And then I had my kale prepped, so I had it destemmed, I had it cut and cross-cut, and I had my Kalamata olives chopped up. I just cut them in half and then cut them, so I cut them in quarters. But you don't have to. You can leave them in big pieces. You can leave them whole. It's a big burst of flavor, so I like to disperse that throughout, so I cut them into the smaller pieces. So I saute the garlic and the olives and the kale just until the kale wilts. That's it. Then I put in the orzo, and then I love that that powdered. It's supposed to be like, they call it like not chicken broth or something like that. It's. I think the main ingredient is maltodextrin, and I have looked up on the internet what maltodextrin is, and it's nothing harmful, but it's nothing really nutritious. It's just really salty and it tastes good, and it kind of mimics canned or boxed chicken broth. So I mixed that with my water, which I heated beforehand because, again, it was hot and I didn't want to heat my kitchen up too much. So I microwaved the water with the broth until it was just maybe, just below boiling. It didn't actually hit a boil, but it was pretty close. And then once the kale was wilted, I poured that on top, brought it to a boil, brought it down to a simmer, put the lid on, and 7 minutes later, I had this. Now, you can make this, and this is what I do when it's hot. I get up really early. Now, if you're not an early morning person, it's not going to work for you. So I would say, instead of doing it at 6 a.m., if you're a night owl, do it at 2 a.m. You can cook something like this. I made this at 6 o'clock, and then I just left it covered on the counter all day. So that way the pasta doesn't get all gummy cakey. And it's got olive oil on it. Olive oil is sort of the pasta magic. They kind of are a married couple. Pasta, olive oil, they kind of go together. So this was all just made in one pot because I already heated the broth that I was going to cook it in. Now this is the kind of thing that you have to go back in and you have to stir it because there's other things in it. And so if you just keep it on a simmer, even in a nice heavy bottomed pot like this, it does tend to stick a little. So you want to go in about halfway through and just turn it over and then cover it back up. And so when the orzo's tender, then you're going to shut it off, even if there's still a little bit of water in it, and leave the lid on it and let it finish cooking just by the heat of what's going on inside the pot. And then you just let it cool all the way down to room temperature. What the question was, 1.5 cups of water to 1 cup of orzo. That's what I would start with. And then you keep checking it, and when you're not showing any water and things are starting to stick a little bit on the bottom and the orzo isn't quite tender, then you can add just a little more, but go in 1/4 cup increments. I did this as a 2 to 1, and I found that I could have done less liquid. When I make this in a smaller batch, that 2 to 1 seemed to work, but this was a pretty big batch. So now the way I usually serve this is in a big giant bowl. I have these beautiful Italian salad bowls that are they're shallow, but they're large, and I just cover the bottom with salad greens and anything else I might want to put in there if I want to put tomatoes or whatever, and then I put this sort of nestle that in the middle. Short on time, so I'm choosing to feed you this watermelon salad instead of the pasta salad with the green goddess dressing. But I have to say, the reason that this green goddess dressing actually got invented was because I read this article about the unsung herb of summer, which was spearmint. Like, we all kind of freak out about basil, but what about spearmint? I mean, I have spearmint everywhere. It's like, you can't stop it. Once you get it, you can't even stop it. So I made this, the dressing by combining equal parts of basil and spearmint. So those were 2/3 of the recipe. And then the other third was chives and marjoram that were all out of my garden. And I just blended it up with avocados. You have the recipe. You can combine any way you want. It's just whatever you like. Go with what you like. Okay, so I want to show you the ginger trick. I'll show you, this is the watermelon trick, and then I'll show you the ginger trick. So, you know how to pick a watermelon, right? You hold it, you gotta hold it, or you gotta put your one hand on it so you can feel the vibration, and you just tap on it, you bang on it with your knuckles, and if it vibrates, and it makes a certain vibration that says, pick me. And so, this is the sweetest watermelon so far that I've had this year. It's just absolutely delicious. And then the co-op is selling both maybe Canadian or Washington blueberries and California blueberries. So I made them pay more, and I bought the California blueberries. Okay, so this salad is watermelon and blueberries. And then if you were to look at your recipe, which you're not doing because you're eating, you would see that it has toasted walnuts that have been caramelized a little bit with a little bit of sugar. Not much, like we're not making, like it's a, you know, we don't want it to be too sweet, but it's a combination of, I take the walnut pieces, and again, I used my rolling pin in a bag, and I crush them up, and then I put them in a frying pan, on a dry frying pan, with a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar. So I get them hot first before I put the sugar in, because as soon as the sugar hits the heat, it starts caramelizing and then it'll burn. So I get the walnuts a little bit on the toasted side first, and then hit it with the sugar. And then you'll see the sugar starts to melt and it goes amber, and then it'll just keep going until it's burned black. So when you're in that nice rich amber color, you take it off the heat immediately and you dump it out of the pan. But don't touch it, because it's kind of like melted sugar is kind of like napalm. So you got to be careful with it. Okay. Now this has a dressing too, so I'm hoping I have time to make that, because I want to show you the ginger trick too. I know you're all dying to see the ginger trick because I keep talking about it. Okay. Okay, so the ginger trick. So here's a piece of ginger. Okay, so usually what do? You take a knife, you use a carrot peel or whatever. The humble tablespoon. Okay, all I'm going to do is just run it down the side of the ginger, and it takes the peel right off. You don't have any waste. You just get the peel off. This is another, my friend Steen, who's the chef in Washington, she taught me this one too. She's also the person who turned me on to farro. So look at that. There's like no waste. All it is peel. I mean, is that amazing? Can you believe we've lived to this age and didn't know how to do that? I can't believe I lived to this age and didn't know how to do it. And then you just kind of work around the little knots, and you might have a piece pop off or something, but it's not that big of a deal. Two other amazing tools. Okay? This and this. This is my Microplane. This is one of my favorite kitchen appliances. Can't live without it. Don't want to live without it. Okay? What it does with the ginger is it grates it so fine that it just turns it into pulp, which means you can put it in things and not have it. I don't know if you can even see that. That's kind of, but it's just pulped. There's no, it's just mush, and that's what you want. The other lovely tool is this. Now you might have seen these as a little fish in an Asian store. This is a ginger grater. It's shaped like a fish. Well, this one I got at a street fair in San Diego. It does the same thing. But this one, what this tool does is it actually expresses the juice out of the ginger. So you see that? Right? Who knew? So how was the orzo salad? Yeah? Okay, you don't have to be polite. If you don't like something, tell me. Okay. But you'll be on television. Okay, so what we're going to do while we're trying to find the yogurt is grade B maple syrup, ginger, and then some lime juice. And again, I'm going to do my little trick with... Now, obviously, I can't put this over the bowl, so I'll just do the best I can here. Yay! Thank you, Stacy. So this is the best non-dairy yogurt out there. Is again Wildwood. No, I don't work for them, I swear. But the reason that I like it is because it's sour. There's no sugar in this. You know, all the alternate yogurts are so full of sugar, and I don't always want that. I want to have control over how sweet things are. So this is plain, and it's by itself. I find it a little bit beany, but I make raita out of it. You know, grating some cucumber and putting a little bit of Indian-style spices in it. And then now I'm blending it. I am sweetening it, but I'm using my own sweetener. I'm using maple syrup. So there's the gingers in here. and maple syrup, and you can also optionally put in some coconut extract. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this dressing came out nice and gingery, so we're not going to use a whole lot of it. I mean, this is like 5 pounds of watermelon, so the dressing will disperse and it won't be all that apparent. So I think that this is cool because you're still getting 4 grams of protein in the salad because it's got coconut in it and it's got walnuts in it, and the soy yogurt. Okay. So have you all had enough to eat? You all doing okay? Okay. All right. Ready for dessert? Have you earned your dessert? You ate your veggies and now you get your dessert. All right.
We'll take your plates as we're giving you the...
I want one of those. Have you seen her face? I want one of those. Do you know I teach 8 Zumba classes a week so that I could eat my cooking? Who here is on Facebook that's not already my friend? I have a cooking page and I post recipes on it pretty regularly. Maddy's Cooking. And you can like my cooking page. I'm so close to 200 likes, so help me get over 200 likes. I don't know why that matters, but it doesn't, but it does. So like my cooking page, and it's totally arbitrary. But like my cooking page, and I post recipes there. I go through gaps where I don't do anything for maybe a couple of weeks, and then this week, because I was coming here, I posted a bunch of the recipes that we're tasting tonight. And I post the nutritional information as well. Usually it's a link to sparkpeople.com, which is the website I use to build my recipes so that I know how I'm nourishing myself. Spark People. Sparkpeople.com. It's free. I used to be a Weight Watcher. I used to pay Weight Watchers. And then I discovered Spark People, which is free, and I've been using that ever since. I went vegan. This is like my 4-year vegan anniversary. I wanted to know when I first did it, well, was I eating, how was I doing? How was I doing with macro and micronutrition? Was I getting everything I needed? Because come on, we live in a culture that says, oh, vegans, you're not getting enough protein, you're not getting enough calcium, and where are you getting your this, where are you getting your that? And at this point I just say, okay, dude, where are you getting your fiber?
Yeah.
Where are you getting your fiber? I can beat you on fiber. I'll take you. I use sparkpeople.com to build all my recipes. They do have a recipe. They have their site where you can track everything you eat, which is what I do, but they also have a sister site where you can build your recipes.
And coincidentally, it is also time to go.
Yes.
So I want to thank Maddy so much for this class.
Thank you all for coming.